So let's jump to the discrete log problem. Okay. Okay, so let me briefly introduce why it is called the discrete log. So what is log? When we talk about log in high school, maybe. So let's say y equals log, and for this log function, we have a base, right? And then something. Okay. So this actually is it's a different representation of this. So when you take the log, this x is actually equal to the power of your base, okay? And then the number that is called log actually represents the index or the power. So that's a reason. The reason we're saying that is just we were calling it discrete log. It's actually that it's almost the same as this one, except that this is not an equality. This is a modification, a slight modification of the equality. It's congruence class. It's something like that, right? Okay, for our first version. So for our first version, we're trying to find, give us any element. If it's a cyclic group, then we can always represent it as the power of something. And then this A is here in this case, it's a generator, right? Generator, something like that, mod P. That's our first version of the discrete log problem. And then it's discrete because we have a mod P. And then this formula can be further generalized. So that it doesn't only work on this group, ZP star. So it doesn't work on it doesn't work solely on the ZP star group. It can work on any group. Okay, so if it works on any group, then we have this a g raised to the power of y is equal to x, something like that. But this here, this is a group element. So it can work on a purely abstract way. As long as you can represent your group like this. Okay, your x can be anything. You just take the index. Okay? That is why it's called the discrete log. So this is our first version, the discrete log in ZP star. So given this is equivalent to saying that given a prime number P and then the generator of ZP star. Actually, this is not trivial because finding a generator is not it involves a lot of deep math. So it's not general. Fortunately, things like that they can be done using table lookups because there are already a lot of pre-computed generators for us. Yeah. And just in case if you guys are interested, there's a way to calculate the generators. There's something called the Gauss lemma. You can use Gauss lemma and then apply this algorithm repeatedly to find the generator. Okay. So this is our first version, the discrete log in ZP star. Let's take a look. Given a prime number P, okay, because giving a ZP star actually means giving a large prime P, okay? And also a generator, so that needs some calculation, a generator. So actually that can be represented as two numbers. One is a large prime, the other is an integer. Okay, so given that, that's considered as a system parameter. Now, if you give me any element in ZP, so any element means any integer from 0 to p minus 1. Okay, given me any integer, we find it, from that goes from 1 to p minus 1. It's not 0 because ZP star, so we remove the 0. So given any integer from 1 to p minus 1, the question is find the integer, so that find the powers x such that g raised to the power of x is congruent to y mod p. Okay? And this security depends on the hardness of the discrete log problem itself, hardness of the group itself. So because this problem, this discrete log problem is so effective that a lot of crypto systems, they actually use this discrete log problem, and instead of constructing a new problem, they actually construct a group. So I can give you a lot of examples like that. For example, the elliptic curve crypto system, that's a way to construct a group using algebraic geometric methods. And later we will cover that. And there's also another one. This is also pretty recent. It's called XTR. So this algorithm, this is similar. XTR is a way to construct a group, a finite group, and the construction is actually is related to a finite field. So actually, I'm not saying this is a way to construct a group, because they simply use this group, something like that. Looks a little weird. P to the power of 6. Remember that when we teach the AES, we cover finite fields, and then there's a big theorem saying that the number of elements in a finite field is always the power of some prime number, right? And then in this crypto system, they actually consider a special type of a finite field. This finite field, GF p to the power of 6 for some prime number. And so this multiplicative group of the finite field, GF p to the 6, is not a big deal. But the thing is, they can represent it in a way that it saves more memory. Okay, so they, instead of representing this field using a lot of bits, they actually try to save something. They use a special way that's called the trace representation. They actually represent the trace of this, and then they're considering the discrete log of this trace function. Yeah. So that's the idea. We won't cover this algorithm, yeah, because this is we'll be covering more of a security things. So it's not always cryptographic algorithm. We will also cover how to use them. Okay, you know, a few years ago when I teach a similar course called cryptography, I covered this algorithm. Okay, but not in this one, because this we'll be looking into the networking issues too. Okay, so a lot of the current algorithms, they actually make use of a discrete log problem. Okay, for example, like here, the elliptic curve is based on the general cyclic groups using constructed with something called using algebraic geometric method. Okay, so we'll be talking about the Algol encryption system, and before we doing that, let's jump ahead to the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, because it's easier to understand this. Okay. So we will cover the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and then we will come back and look at the Algol encryption algorithm. This Diffie-Hellman key exchange is not a cryptographic algorithm. Okay, it's not an encryption algorithm. It's a key exchange method. It's so simple and elegant that it can be understood pretty easily. I believe later I will show you the diagrams, and then you guys will understand. And then when we once we understand the basic properties, the basic theory of Diffie-Hellman key exchange, we can almost regard the Elgamal encryption algorithm as a encryption version of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, although they are developed, designed by different scientists. The underlying ideas are pretty similar. Okay, so let's take a look at this. First, we have the system parameters like that. First, we have to choose a large prime P. Okay, so a large prime and a generator G. Okay. Now, we consider the group ZP star as usual. Okay. So to generate a large prime, that involves the primality test we will cover shortly. And and then finding a generator of this group. Okay, it needs some calculation. We won't cover this too much, but anyway, this can be done using something called the Gauss lemma. So the idea is now Alice and Bob wants to establish a shared key before using for example, the symmetric crypto system. So they want to establish a shared key, and then they already know both P and G. Okay. Now, this key exchange algorithm works really easily. So first, Alice and Bob, they both create some secret information. So Alice generates a number A, and Bob generates a number B, and they don't tell anybody. So what Alice does is that Alice calculates G to the power of A, okay, and then send it to Bob, okay? And then Bob also calculates G to the power of B mod P, okay, and sends to Alice. And the shared session key is G to the power of, okay, AB mod P. That's it, okay? So Alice does not know B. Bob does not know A. But once Alice gets Bob's G to the power of B, she applies the modular exponentiation algorithm again, and then get the AB. You guys may wonder, well, the attacker can get both G to the A and G to the B, right? So you guys may think, wow. And the attacker just multiply them, right? G to the A to the G to the B, and then we'll get G A B, right? This is wrong. Yeah, this is completely wrong. The reason is when you multiply them, when you multiply G to the A to G to the B, what you get is not G to the AB. What you get is actually G to the power of A plus B. So this index is addition if you do multiplication. Okay. Actually, to get this GAB, you either have G to the A and then you raise to the power of B. This is Bob's way. Okay, Bob receives G to the A and then do this. Or you start from G to the B and then raise to the power of A. These are the only two ways that you get G to the AB. There's no other ways, unless you solve the discrete log problem. Okay, so this method is so beautiful, so elegant that, well, you don't need both pieces A and B, but you need to get one of them, either A or B. You can't just get GAB out of scratch from G to the A or G to the B. So that's the beauty of it. Okay. That's the key. This is the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. Okay. This was proposed in 1976. That's the year I was born too. So 2 years after RSA. RSA was proposed in 1974. So two years before that. So this is Diffie-Hellman key exchange. It's okay. It's also one of the main key exchange protocols. The most widely used key exchange protocols at this moment, there are two of them. You either have RSA, that's one of them, and the other is Diffie-Hellman key exchange. So that's the two. I mean, if you in most systems, how to use RSA to do key exchange? Okay. Actually, you can use any asymmetric decryption algorithms to do key exchange as well. Let's say you have RSA, right? So for RSA, or maybe I can put it this way. So we can use any asymmetric encryption algorithm to do key exchange. So let's say Alice and Bob, right? Okay. So Bob has a public key, okay? Public key U, okay? So Bob give this public key to Alice, because public key is public. You can send it by email. So this Alice gets Bob's public key, and then Alice chooses a session key, okay, and then that session key can be encrypted using Bob's public key. Okay, so this is Alice chooses session key, and then you encrypt this, okay, with Bob's public key, and Alice simply sends the encrypted message to Bob. Okay. Only Bob has the secret key, right? Nobody has Bob's secret key. So Bob can eventually recover the session key K, and then both share the key K. That's the way. Okay, so this can be done using any asymmetric crypto systems. Okay, so anything any encryption algorithm, asymmetric, that will work. Any public key algorithm also works. So that's the way RSA does. Okay? So that's Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Okay? So these two are used in the SSL. Okay? So now let's come back and look at Algol. So this Algol encryption scheme is a public key encryption algorithm. Okay? Let's take a look. For the second part, the non-deterministic, I will introduce. So the Algol key encryption is actually it's very similar. So I just covered the Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm, right? The secret that both parties share is G to the AB. Okay. So this is also the key idea of Algol key exchange. So the sender and receiver both will know this GAB, and then this will be used as something like a seed, okay, for the key, and then they can use that to generate something kind of like a way to block the original message. We will see. So first, both parties, sender and receiver, Alice and Bob. I mean, a whole system will generate a large prime P, okay, so large prime number P, and then generator G, not the same. Okay. And then each entity, each user chooses an exponent, which can be regarded as a secret key. Okay. And then the public key is G to the X. This is something kind of like a blind factor, because GX can be used, to generate, to calculate something that can be used to blind the secret information. Well, but the discrete log problem basically tells us, even though you have knowledge of the G to the X, you still have no knowledge about the X. So the exponent is secure. Okay? Now, suppose Bob wants to encrypt a message. Okay? So the Bob wants to encrypt a message from Alice. So Bob will obtains Alice's public key. Okay? So let's see. Alice's public key is repeat. This is Alice's public key. Okay? So let's see. Draw a diagram. So this is Alice, right? And then this is Bob. Bob wants to send Alice. So Alice has the PGY, right? P and G we both know. So we can simply omit these two. So Alice public key is Y. Okay. This is Alice public key. So we can let me represent Alice private key as X. Okay. So private key is X. Okay. Public key is this. Right. Private key is X. Maybe I can represent. I can use a different color. So this is Alice public key G to the X. Okay. Now, the idea is Bob also choose a random number, and then you can regard this as sharing a secret G to the AB, right? And then Bob chooses Bob chooses R, and then calculates this G to the R, right? So this is just like the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. So Bob knows this, okay? And then they share this G to the XR, right? And then this G to the XR can be used to serve as a blinding factor for the information. Okay, so Bob randomly picks an integer R. So this R only works for this round. That's also one of the major advantage of algorithm, because it involves in a random number R. So for example, if Bob encrypts twice with exactly the same message, it will not end up with the same ciphertext. The reason is it involves in a random number. So every time the random number will be different. That is why it is called a non-deterministic. If you look at RSA, you can encrypt the same message over and over again, and you end up with exactly the same ciphertext. That is because RSA is not involved in any random number. RSA is deterministic, okay? Fully deterministic. So when you have the same plaintext with the same key, you end up with the same ciphertext. That's called deterministic. But algorithm is not deterministic. It's non-deterministic. So every time, even though your plaintext is the same, the key is the same, you end up with a different ciphertext. That makes it difficult to attack. Okay? So Bob picks an integer R, okay, and computes this G to the R. So this is G to the R is kind of like a Bob's public key, okay? And this A is G to R, right? Now this G to the XR is what? This is G to the this is G to the XR, right? So this is Y to the R. This Y to the R can be regarded as the shared secret, right? This is kind of like, using the point of view of Diffie-Hellman key exchange, this is a shared secret. And then this shared secret is used as a blinding factor, right? So this shared secret is used as a blinding factor to blind the plaintext. The plaintext is M. Actually, you can use any function that takes two parameters, and as long as this function is reversible, then it's an encryption algorithm. In algorithm, this is bare multiplication. It's just modular multiplication. So this M is plaintext, and this Y to the R is kind of like this shared secret, right? So just simple multiplication. So that is why I said the algorithm encryption is almost the same as the encryption version of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Right? In fact, you can do anything as long as you have a reversible invertible function f that takes parameter of m and this gxr, right? Y to the r, or I can say y to the r. Any function, as long any function can be used as an encryption function, as long as this f is invertible. Okay? So the encryption is nothing more than multiplication mod p, right? Okay. And so the ciphertext is A and B. Bob has to send both Bob's contribution of the shared secret and the blinded secret, the blinded information, which is the ciphertext. So how to decrypt? So to decrypt this, Alice has to recover y to the r, right? Or g to the power of xr. So first Alice can recover that, and then Alice just divide this blinding factor. How to divide that? Finding the multiplicative inverse, right? How to find the multiplicative inverse? Extended Euclidean algorithm. So that is why this algorithm is used so extensively throughout this course. Just every time we will use a lot of the algorithms involves in finding multiplicative inverse because it plays such an important role that almost, it's virtually everywhere. Okay, so Alice computes this. This is the shared secret, and then find the inverse, and then multiply to the ciphertext that will recover the information. Okay, so that's algorithm decryption. Okay, this is an easy example. So the key generation, for example, key P is 2,357, which is prime, and then G is 2. Okay. So you guys have to verify that this G actually, the power of 2, the power of G actually covers everything. Okay? And then X is Alice's secret key, so 1,751. Okay, and then public key is this, and the private key 1,751 and 51. Okay. So this is just an example. You guys can take a look. So it's no big deal. It's just finding a shared secret first and then multiply to the plain text. Okay. So we can move on to the remarks. So the important property is that the algorithm encryption scheme is non-deterministic, right? Because it involves in a random number in the middle of the algorithm. So that is always a good thing. Okay. How about its efficiency? So we can come back and look at the efficiency. Yeah. The efficiency can generally be I can say we can generally measure the efficiency by counting how many times we need to do the modular exponentiation. So let's take a look. So encryption, one modular exponentiation, another modular exponentiation, and then the multiplication. Multiplication is fast, so this is 2 modular exponentiations. So basically you can regard them as like twice as slow as RSA, because RSA only involves in one modular exponentiation. Decryption. One modular exponentiation, okay, and then here we have an inverse, okay. I said that the extended Euclidean algorithm, the efficiency of the extended Euclidean algorithm is kind of difficult to analyze. I mean, in the worst case, it's it's like almost as slow as one modular exponentiation. But I mean, on the average case, no. And so far, there's no mathematical, there's no theoretical bound that can be applied to assess to measure the efficiency, because it varies greatly. Sometimes it's just really slow, and sometimes it seems to be okay. So the range of efficiency is quite wide. It's the standard deviation is big. It's a little difficult to analyze. So anyway, I mean, the worst case we can regard as kind of like two modular exponentiations. And then we have one multiplication, which is fast. So decryption is okay. Encryption is a little slower because it involves in two modular exponentiation operations. But basically, you can we can think it's about twice as slow as RSA. Yeah, so algorithm. Basically speaking, I still think algorithm is fast, even it's twice as slow as RSA. This algorithm is based on the discrete log problem. So we have way less attacks as compared to the factorization attack, because this type of thing, the discrete log, is something that most people are not very familiar with. I mean, generally speaking, as compared to factorization, mathematicians are less familiar with the groups theory, this kind of thing. So algorithm is a really good algorithm. Unfortunately, good algorithms are not always the most popular ones. So the reason, so why is it not popular? Why is it not popular? The main reason is that it came up later than RSA. So it's not the first one. So unfortunately, we have the situation like winner takes all. Okay? It's true pretty much everywhere. So for example, like in the United States, I mean, especially in America, the culture is winner takes all. For example, you look at any professional sports, for example, like the NBA or MLB or football. So basically all four major professional sports, there's only one winner per year, one champion. Okay. So there's no number one, not number two. So let's take NBA for example. You have the NBA champion, right? You don't have number two. Well, you have the champion of Eastern Conference and Western Conference, and then they compete to they compete for championship to be the champion. Yeah, but there's no number two, right? If you lose, then you come back. You compete the next year. So winner takes all. That's the world, basically. So a lot of times it's like that. Winner takes all. So over these years, I told my student that we have to be you have to be number one, or you lose. The way that our government, or the way the Taiwanese work is that we have really limited big companies. We work like in smaller groups, smaller companies, because our base is kind of like medium-sized companies. Okay, so that is why when we competed with Koreans over the years, for example, like 10 years ago, our government was really focused on DRAM or something, and then we were doing good business as well. But the size of our Taiwanese companies are usually medium-sized, not that large. Okay, the Koreans, they have really, really big companies, backed by their governments. For example, like Samsung and then that kind of stuff. So we work like, the way Taiwanese work is like we're doing business in the night markets. Okay, so we have a lot of little shops in the, I wouldn't say shop, little vendors in a night market. But what the Koreans did was like opening a McDonald's in front, beside night market. And what they did is they can actually sell you hamburgers. Every hamburgers they sell, they lose $5. That's what they can do. So the size is big. If they can, they can keep losing money. Every hamburgers the Koreans sell, they lose $5. Okay, and then just do that for a month, then the whole night market will disappear. All the vendors will be gone because nobody can afford to lose that much money. Okay, and then after our street vendors die out in the night markets, then the Koreans what they did was they charge you $20 more per hamburger. So for 1 month, they lose, for every hamburger they sell, they lose $5. After you die out, every hamburgers they sell, they charge you $20 more. That's why that's why they can survive. So that's the Korean way. A lot of times we are doing good business. Taiwanese are good, but the problem is our size is not the sheer quantities, sheer size is not big enough. So a lot of times, if your size is not enough, your efficiency cannot be improved. Okay? Because for example, like for each company, you still need to have some accountants, some some supporting crew, that kind of thing. And those are overhead. So a lot of times the overhead is like per company you have some overhead. If a company is big enough, then you can charge more. So we only have 23 million people in Taiwan. That's not enough for us to sustain the R&D. Because if you really want to do R&D, you need to lose a lot of money. For example, like especially when you're doing medical research, like big pharmaceutical companies, every year you have to invest like billions of dollars. That's the way we do business. That's the way the market works. So that is why, for us, it's a little difficult to compete with, especially Koreans. Generally speaking, I think a lot of economists, they found that for a country that to be able to sustain, to be able to support R&D, country probably needs to have at least like 50 million people. So Taiwan is like a little smaller than that. Let's take Japan, for example. Japan has 120 million people. So even the domestic demand alone is enough to sustain a business which does R&D. But for Taiwan, it's not enough. 23 million. The market is just too small. So we can't do R&D. That's the reason why lots of Taiwanese companies, they buy patents from American. They buy patents from Europe, for example. Right? So that is why. It's difficult. Okay, so anyway, that's the idea. Winner takes all. So we have to keep that in mind. Yeah. So that's algorithm decryption. Okay, let's move on to the Diffie-Hellman exchange. So we covered both algorithm encryption and Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Now let me point out a really serious problem. This is called the man-in-the-middle attack. So the man-in-the-middle attack is that suppose Alice and Bob want to share a secret key, okay, using Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Okay, Diffie-Hellman key exchange is a fantastic algorithm. It's almost perfect. It's elegant as well, but it's susceptible to the man-in-the-middle attack. Let's take a look. So Alice wants to share a secret key with Bob. So Alice chooses a secret number A and then sends G to Bob. But the problem is, this information was intercepted by the man in the middle. So the man in the middle claims he is Bob, and then he replies Alice by choosing a secret number B and then sends G to the B to Alice. So this way, Alice actually establishes a shared secret with the man in the middle. And then the man in the middle claims that he is Alice. And then, he shares a secret with Bob. So the problem is now, the man in the middle is really the man in the middle. So every time Alice sends some secret information to Bob, Alice does not know she's contacting with the man in the middle, not actually Bob. So how to counter this problem? Okay. So this is a really severe problem, because even though these communications are secure, but the problem is you're communicating with the wrong guy. Right? You have to prevent from this. That is why we need to have digital signatures. Otherwise, without any authorization, you really don't know who you're contacting with. So that is why we need to have these digital signatures, and later we'll talk about digital signatures as well. Okay. So this is a serious problem, but we will talk about that later by introducing the digital signatures. Now let's look at some remarks. The key management. Okay. So there are other public key crypto systems. So the public key encryption helps address the key distribution problems. So the public key encryption can, the thing is the distribution of public keys does not need to be sent by a secure channel. So this can be openly sent as an email or something. Even though it can be intercepted by other parties, it doesn't matter. Okay. And also we can use public key encryption to distribute secret key. This is the way I could use. For example, we can use RSA as a key distribution, key management system, because we can, one party can choose a secret key and then sends an encrypted message using the other party's public key. Okay. But the thing is, we really need to know who is the legitimate user. So distribution of public keys is important. As I said earlier, there's the man in the middle problem. So anybody can claim to be anybody. So how can you be sure that the person who's claiming to be is really that person? The only thing you know is it's public key. Right? So then how to distribute those public keys is a really important problem. So how to distribute that? It actually tells you whether or not it's secure. So number one, public announcement. For example, you send a group email, send your public key to everybody. Okay, this is what this system called PGP. Okay, so PGP basically use public announcement. So you can install the PGP software, and then each party would choose a public key, and then just send to everybody. It's public announcement. And also can be publicly available directory. So if that directory is authorized, then you have security. For example, like within our department, the electrical engineering department, we have a directory. And that directory, for example, like me, I have an email, I have an account in that directory. So that's organized by the network administrator. So which provide more security, because not everybody can not everybody is authorized to put your public key there, right? So this is also one way. Well, alternatively, I mean, maybe there are other. I mean, if it's not organized by somebody, if it's just publicly available, and also everybody can write to that directory, then that's a different issue. Then there's no security at all. Okay. And also the public key authority. If you have an authority like our department or like the school, every student has an account. It's a little difficult to fake an account, right? You have to crack the system. Yeah. So this provides more security. And also certificates as well. We'll talk about that next time. So that's about it. Let's stop here and then we'll continue on Thursday.